Welcome, Aurora, to our podcast. It's awesome having you here. We've Renata and myself, we've been looking forward to this session today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to chat with you guys. Very excited.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for
Aurora,
coming.
for those who don't know you, can you briefly explain a little bit about your life story?
Sure. So, I used to be a high school math teacher, and I retired about 10 years ago. So, I have that background, and also I've been meditating for about 30 years. And since 2020, my life has taken a turn towards very interesting with my first experience of remembering an encounter with ETs, which totally blew my mind because I had zero interest before that. I knew that, aliens existed in terms of, the little gray guys, but it was just mostly from pop culture. I really didn't have any personal experience. So in 2020, something happened after my meditation retreat that I took that summer. And yeah, was falling asleep, trying to fall asleep next to my husband. And all of a sudden, this image popped into my head that was a little scary. And when I opened my eyes, the image didn't go away. And that was
Oh,
really startling. Yeah, what I saw it felt like I was lying down and I couldn't move. I was paralyzed and I couldn't move. And what I could see was these three shorter grays, I don't know, maybe 4 feet tall max, 3.5. And they had some instruments that actually reminded me of the kind of stuff that you'd see in the Jetsons cartoon. It just looked like futuristic but comical. So I don't know exactly what they had in their hands. I couldn't identify it. But in any case, they were like poking me and prodding me. And I didn't feel any pain, but I could feel the touch. You know how when you go to the dentist and they numb your face, you can still
Yep.
feel, you don't feel the pain, but you feel that there's something going on. And so that was terrifying because I could sense that they had no emotions. They were very task oriented, and it didn't matter what I said. They were going to do what they were going to do, and it made no difference. Whatever I was going to do. So that really scared me because I felt like I was out of control. And then all of a sudden, I started to hear in my head these very comforting, very loving words about, you're relaxed, you don't have to be scared, we're not hurting you. So when I moved my eyes, because I could move my eyes, nothing else moved, but my eyes could move. And I got this image of this guy was taller, maybe 6 feet tall. He was taller than the other guys. Same exact face, same exact uniform. They had like this dark uniform on. I can't say that it was actually black, with the little like a turtleneck kind of a thing. And they dressed just like the little guys, but his face was huge and triangular. He had these humongous eyes, the black eyes with the lenses, I guess, that they wear. And he was standing there in this really weird posture with his hands. It seemed like they were folded like this. And he was communicating telepathically, and a lot of love, a lot of empathy, a lot of compassion. The feelings were amazing. But my brain didn't know how to process those feelings with this face that showed no emotion and no expression whatsoever. It was just so eerie that I got terrified. And at one point, I realized that they weren't hurting me because I wasn't feeling any pain. I didn't know what they were doing, but I kind of knew intuitively that they weren't going to hurt me. And I told him that, I don't care what you guys do. I just don't want to know about it. And as soon as I said that, this image that I had, I was still in my bedroom, and on top of the, being in my bedroom, on top of that, there was this image of these guys. So that image with them started fading away, basically just going away and fading. And with it went my terror. And so at one point I thought, well, maybe I could handle this. So it started to come back into focus, and I'm going, no, 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 no. We're done here. I can't tolerate it. And so it disappeared. And that kind of gave me an indication that those were not bad guys, so to speak, because if they had been, they would not have respected my boundaries. When I told them that I can't, I don't care what you're doing, but I don't want to know about it, they, didn't stop what they were doing. They just drifted away. Now, the really weird thing that happened afterwards, now this was not like I'm falling asleep, I'm not falling asleep. I mean, I was fully conscious for this experience, but immediately, as soon as I could, I sat up on my bed and my husband is sleeping next to me, and I'm seeing these lights right outside my window. We're on the second story of, a condo building. And there were
Okay.
these lights that looked like lights from an emergency vehicle, the flashing white and red and blue. But I noticed green lights. And I'm like, wait a minute. Emergency vehicles don't have green lights. So I'm turning to my husband to tell him, hey, there's some weird lights outside my window. And by the time I finished that phrase, they disappeared. So, I could see them through my curtain. I couldn't see what was on the other side because the curtains were drawn. But I went to my window to look outside, and there was nothing in the street. I hadn't heard any vehicles moving. I mean, it was the middle of the night, just about. And so I don't know what those lights were. And also, it seemed to me that they were way too high to actually be a vehicle on the street. Because, like I said, we live on the second story. So for me, from the vantage point of where I was, I can't see the road outside. So if these lights were like right at the, my window level, they couldn't have been on the ground. So I don't know how to explain any of that, to be honest with you. But that's what got me really, really interested in ETs. And I started to research some things. And eventually I realized that this being who was holding his hands like this wasn't the gray, it was actually a mantis being. But because at the time I didn't have that frame of reference, the only pattern that my brain had was these little grays. So that's what my brain saw. Or it could be that, he knew that that would have been too much for me to see this gigantic bug leaning over me. So maybe, he projected a different image that was more comfortable for me. But I remember it was really odd with his hands. And the fact that I saw this before I knew anything about mantis beings is evidence for me that I wasn't making it up, because I didn't know what that was. And I thought it was really odd. So I would not have come up with that on my own. I mean, this specific posture is not something that I would have imagined. And so as I researched more and more, and I started to learn about mantis beings, I decided to, while I'm going through this, I was trying to draw pictures of this being because I was absolutely fascinated with the intensity of, the loving emotions and the compassion. I wish he'd come back. But anyway, I was making some drawings of him. And the first drawing that I made, it looked like a gray, like what I saw. And then as time went on and I learned more and more about mantis beings, the drawing that I had of him, I kept drawing more and more. It evolved. And eventually it became something that was nothing like what I saw, but it was a lot like what I felt. And, I took some creative license because it wasn't meant to be a visual of what I had seen. It was meant to be the sense I had, a felt sense of what he actually was. And if you guys like, I can share some of those drawings with you. I don't know if I
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
my
We
screen.
a we actually
Yeah,
saw a
sure.
bunch of them in your websites, and they are
Oh,
awesome.
do you want me to share those? I mean, or do you want to talk about something different? It's up to you guys.
No, you
No, no,
can share.
no. Please,
Yeah, yeah,
please walk us
please.
through. Please
Okay.
walk us through the. We actually were going to ask you, so we are just going to uh
All
go
righty.
through
Let
that
me
first.
see. Oh, yeah. Hang on just a second. Let me find where I've saved all of that. Give me just 1 minute here.
while you're searching for the images,
Yeah.
we've seen some of your drawings in your website, and there's actually one that caught my eye because it's so different. There's one being that has like a helmet with, I don't know how
Oh,
you call it, the and he has like mom love a tattoo or something. I think it says mom love
oh,
or
is he the one with the, I found the drawings, by the way. Is he the one with, the rainbow hat by any
yes,
chance?
that's the one.
Okay. Yes.
I I got really intrigued. Why is that? What
Actually,
character is he?
there's a pretty neat story that goes along with that. I'm opening up these files as I'm talking with you. He, is a being from, what I refer to as the Council of Eight. And
Yeah.
the Council of Eight is a group of eight beings from various civilizations who are actually helping with, I guess, our introduction to extraterrestrials. Let's just put it that way. They're trying to, help us become, aware of our galactic family and friends, and it's about disclosure. I guess you could put it that way.
Yeah.
And so, one of one of my friends actually channels a couple of the beings in this group. And so when I started drawing portraits of ETs after a very strange experience I had at a CE5, he was the one that kind of popped into my head. I was having kind of a rough day that morning, and I decided, you know what, I'm just going to draw something because that kind of makes me feel better. And while I'm doing that, it's like I drew the head of an ET, and then I drew these sunglasses, and I'm like, that doesn't look right, sunglasses on an ET. So I went to erase them. And all of a sudden in my mind, I hear this voice, don't erase them. They make me look cool.
Ah,
And, oh,
that's
okay.
very good.
And so it was really pretty neat because not only could I hear these words, but I could feel his emotions in a way, and how tickled he was and giggly he was about what I was doing. And so that really cheered me up. And so I continued with the drawing until, I came up with the final product. But all the little things that I added, let me see, I could probably share that image with you too. Let me just get that one up. All the little things that I added were his suggestions. So the little tattoo, hang on, where is he? Hang on.
So he has a good sense of humor.
Yes, he does. He has an amazing sense of humor. All right, I have him up on my screen. Let's see. How do I share?
Let me see. It's the
Can't speak
second
right now,
button from the
please.
right. It's not, it's just beside the leave button.
Aha. Oh, share. There it is. Thank you. All right. Screen. Window. All right. Here he is. Can you guys see him?
Oh, yes, that's him.
Yes. Yes.
How
That's.
cool is he?
Mhm.
Very cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I started out with the glasses. He wanted a silly big beanie hat. Um, the light bulb was actually uh, something that he said. He said that, one of the steps towards enlightenment is to lighten up on ourselves. And that kind of reminded me of something Bashar said. Uh, the little bracelet that he has on there and the tattoo that says mom. Those were suggestions from somebody in the group that knows
Okay.
these beings. I'm part of a exoconscious group we call ourselves, and they made some suggestions, and I added them on, and Zark was just absolutely thrilled. And then this, I don't know if you can see it on this T-shirt in the front. There's an equation there. And that's an equation that somebody else in my group was given that has to do with creating out of the field of consciousness. I don't
Oh,
understand the
great.
equation, but that's what it stands for. And it's interesting that, I have another drawing of a different gray. And Zark is a short gray, by the way. From what I understand, he lives in the Pleiades system and he has a family there
Mhm.
with 5 offspring.
Oh,
He
well,
told me this. One of my friends who got in touch with him said that, and he is a propulsion systems engineer. So, and a mathematician. So for him to be this silly, um, it's I guess pretty unusual. If I'm trying to picture, these guys who work at NASA, and you would not see them in a beanie hat. Okay, make
actually,
fun of
it
themselves.
just came to my mind. There's this guy in NASA. He became pretty kind of famous in the internet a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, maybe like 10 years, because he had this like a mohawk hair,
Oh,
and he was pretty cool. Like he had a skate and he would surf, but he worked at NASA and he was one of the head engineers.
oh, wow.
Um, yeah, yeah, and
That's amazing.
he dyed his hair like red and green, so he has
Really?
this kind of this vibe. Yeah, I'll
Huh.
try to
Okay.
send you
Wow.
And
over
That's
a
beautiful.
photo of him. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, that would be good. That would be great. But yep, this is Zark. He's black and white except for his beanie hat. And then there's another drawing that I made of a different gray, a tall gray. And the only colors in that image are, rainbow colors. He's going through a portal, actually, is how I see him coming back. Hang on, let me see if I can find him so you can see what he looks like.
And
Can you
so
still
you
see him?
connect.
Or do I need to stop sharing the other one?
I think you can just switch if you have the photo.
Okay, hang on. Let me get rid of
You can,
Zark.
yeah.
Can you guys see? Oh, here he is. Okay. All right, let's see if this works. All right, can you see him now?
It's
Yes.
still
Yes. Yes.
coming through. Yeah, we have it now.
Okay,
Oh,
goodness.
awesome.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
this is from the Council of Eight. Gray, the second Gray, who is in that group, and he is in charge of the security of this quadrant of our galaxy. And so,
Wow.
when I was trying to connect with him to draw his portrait, he was very difficult to get a hold of. So, he didn't come through very clearly. So that's why he is very, black and white, grayscale, is because I couldn't really get a clear sense of him. And
Yeah.
so he's popping in sort of like through a portal, a light just sort of, I guess, splitting up into the primary colors. And then he's just sort of coming through that. So I thought it was interesting because it wasn't intentional. The whole rainbow thing with the 2 grays was not intentional. It just sort of came out that way. So,
And
Mhm.
what is the meaning of this symbol that I keep seeing on your drawing? That it's this symbol with the 3 dots.
oh,
Is it
um,
does mean something?
no, it doesn't mean anything. It's just something that I like to look at. it
Okay.
just it
Okay.
looks cool to me. Do I really
That's
have it in some other drawings too? I didn't even realize. Yeah, it's just I
That's
don't know.
nice.
I like it. It seems like I don't know, kind of native in some way, or
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know,
It is.
Earth-like.
And
Actually,
Yeah,
I I
uh,
have
a native
I have
symbol or something.
yeah, I have something actually from Australia, from the natives in Australia. And I don't have it here, but it's very similar because they have one pattern that is very similar. So that's why it caught my
Interesting.
eye. Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, well, I know I have connections with Lemuria,
Yeah.
and that includes Hawaii, and the islands around there. And I don't
oh,
know if it
okay.
includes Australia. I think New Zealand is
Mhm.
part of Lemuria,
Maybe.
or that
Yeah.
general area. So
Maybe
I
all the
don't,
Mm.
Pacific has some influence.
yeah. But New
Okay.
Zealand's pretty close to Australia, so I don't know if they
Yeah.
share those kinds of symbols. I didn't look into that. I might, though, because that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, also, it caught my eye because I know some Reiki symbols are kind of
Mm.
similar.
Well,
Mm.
oh,
So
That's
could be like a symbol for protection or communication. I have no idea, but this is
Abundance.
kind of
There's one with
that's
abundance. It's also
interesting.
with a spiral. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm gonna look into that because I
Yeah.
don't know anything about Reiki symbols.
Hmm.
I mean,
Uh,
everything
that's,
has a connection, right? A logic,
oh
even
yeah.
if it is
Hmm.
irrational. So there's probably something there.
Well,
Aurora.
yeah, maybe it's got to do with some vibrational relationship or something, some
Yeah.
resonance.
Even
Because
could be like light language or something.
oh yeah, that's a very good point. And I do have light language in one of my other made of the Council of Eight.
Nice. How cool.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And I really like this being. He seems really nice. He has an awesome vibe, to be
yeah,
honest.
he
And what a
is.
cool job to be the head of
Of security.
security this side of the galaxy. I mean, come
Yeah,
on. That's
he's a busy
awesome.
guy. He's a very busy guy. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, do you guys want me to go through the other beings on the Council of Eight? I mean, we could do that. It's up
We
Yes.
to you.
Can,
You're
we can.
encouraged. Do you
Yeah,
want to
I
see
think we
them?
can. I have
Okay.
one question for you because
Sure.
it's regarding the connection that you mentioned, that when you are connecting with these beings, even though they're not
Yeah.
present,
Hmm.
you kind of you feel, there's an emotion that
Yes.
it's coming,
Yeah.
and normally accompanied with love, no?
Yes.
So
Always. Yeah.
it's very, even though they're not present and touching you,
Hmm.
it's very intimate, no?
Yes. It's very intimate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with telepathy. That's one of Bashar's terms
Hmm.
that
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's basically communication, but not necessarily through words, but
Yeah.
more through a sense of more through intention, so to speak, and through states of being, let's say.
Hmm.
For example, when we feel compassion,
Yeah.
yeah, we can express that in words, but it feels like something in our body, which is
Yeah.
completely different from when we feel anger. So compassion has its own felt sense. It's a state of
Hmm.
being, and anger is also a state of being.
For
And
sure.
so what these beings communicate is that state of being. And so when I allow myself to entrain with their resonance, with their vibration,
Hmm.
I pick up on that state of being and also the other things that they are thinking about or that they want to share, because they are all communicated in the same bandwidth, so to speak.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so it
So,
is about frequency. It is about,
hmm.
being
Tuning
alive,
in.
tuning in, right? And the way that
Yeah.
I reach out is first, it helps because I meditate, I can put myself in the state of compassionate love and sympathetic joy and inviting
Yeah.
beings who are,
Okay.
positive to, present themselves or come and, say hello. And I don't always get an answer, but if
Hmm.
I do that with intention for a specific being or a group of beings, I do tend to get a connection with that being. Sometimes it's kind of flickery, which is exactly what happened with Targ. I
Hmm.
just couldn't really get a sense of him, and
Hmm.
probably because he, I don't know, was busy. I have no idea, but I did get enough glimpses of him to actually draw his portrait, and I draw these things by how these beings feel. In other words, I don't have an image in my head that I'm trying to put on paper. I draw, and if it aligns with how I feel, if what I'm drawing feels right, that's how I do it mostly.
Oh,
So it's always a surprise for me what these beings look like because I don't know.
yeah.
The one friend that I have who channels them knows what they look like because he's
Hmm.
actually met them in person. And he tells me,
Well,
holy cow, you really got that, the likeness is just,
Wow.
yeah. So
That's
that's
awesome.
yeah, very encouraging for
Yeah,
me.
to have
yeah.
that confirmation, it's awesome.
I was thinking,
Go ahead, Renata.
do you think it's like so you say you can put yourself in a state of love and kindness when you meditate, right? So in here, you align with the frequency in which you would have access to them, since it appears to be that they are in this frequency. Yeah. So when you are not in this frequency and you had contact with them, so in your first experience, so would you say that they have such strong frequency that they are kind of not projecting it onto you, but you immediately are embraced in this field?
Yeah. Sometimes when one of them reaches out to me and I'm not, specifically calling out on anybody, yes, if they really want to get my attention, they turn on the volume. And I had that experience once when I was out on my balcony with this mantis being. I mean, I'm just watering my plants. And all of a sudden, this image pops in my head, clear as a bell, of this mantis being with his mandibles are open, like he's going to eat me or something. But while I'm looking at this image, there's this intense feeling of being loved and compassion that's coming from this being. So I know that I wasn't imagining it, because there is no way that my nervous system would have associated the image of this giant insect with feeling loved and feeling compassion. So that's how I know for sure. I mean, I could feel that it came from outside of me, but that's how I know for sure that it wasn't me, because I would have never put those two things together. So, that being stayed around for, a good 30 minutes and pretty much expanded my consciousness. I basically saw how I am projecting everything, that everything around me is my own projection, that there's nothing outside of myself. And it was very, very expansive. And even though I can't maintain that awareness, that state of understanding, of profound understanding, the fact that I had that experience changed something inside me permanently. And even though I can't replicate that state, I remember how that felt. And so it changed my perception of reality in that way.
You cannot unsee it.
Yeah. And Aurora,
yeah.
Why do you think you're able to establish this communication? Do you think it's some work that you might have done? I don't know. Some people say that for instance, Sadhguru. I don't know if you know, but he often says that he has done a lot of work in his previous lives. That's why he in this current life, he can get into some states, psychological and energetical of work that has been done already in his previous lives. So I guess my question is, do you think this is because of work that you have done previously, or is it because of your lineage, like your family members have been contacted, or is it because you just elevated your vibration to a point where they can actually come through? Why do you think that is?
Ultimately, I don't really know for sure, and this is going to sound really wild. For some reason, I feel very strongly that there is a body, okay? I have another body somewhere, either with the Sasani people or some place that has that technology, where I am in some sort of stasis. And I have this being who feels like my daughter, who is basically making sure that my body continues to, survive while my consciousness is over here, incarnated in this body. And for the longest time, I thought that was just impossible or weird or just a product of my own imagination. But then I started to listen to hear interviews about how that's a thing. There are beings who actually do that, sort of like in the Avatar movie. And so that was pretty wild. And I actually made a drawing of that being that I can share with you, because it's really pretty neat. It's one of the first beings that I drew.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
it's
Go
not
ahead.
very intuitive, but once you hear it, it actually makes a lot of sense, because you
Yeah.
can absolutely come to planet Earth to help with its evolution,
Evolution.
right? And
Yeah,
vibration. Yeah.
like a volunteer thing. Now, most of my life, I had no idea that this was a thing. So the fact
Oh.
that, I'm discovering that it is, this is the being I was telling you about, who, like I said, feels like my daughter. Um,
Okay.
and you can
This is
see,
awesome.
I'm glad you like it. You can see all these symbols around. Those are the sacred circuits that Bashar talks about in one of his transmissions. And I
Mhm.
have linked them all together in this drawing. For some reason, that was important. And yeah, that's her. And she feels very much like a Sasani person. She really does. And I
Hmm.
don't know if she's actually my daughter or, yeah, she's my daughter. Because I can connect
You
with
know,
her pretty easily. And yeah, go ahead.
Wow.
that this actually I connect a lot with your story,
Oh,
because
good.
um yes, and actually I told Renate,
Mhm.
I had this experience where I saw a ship on the sky, and for some reason I connected with a family on this ship,
Oh,
and I had the feeling that there was a man inside with two uh, young sons,
mhm.
two of them, and I had this distinguished feeling that he was my husband and they were my two
Oh,
kids,
wow.
and they were
Wow.
waiting for me to come back. I
Oh,
I,
wow.
I have never told this story to anyone. That you're, I mean, just to Renata.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you told me this, and it's just mind blowing.
Confirmation. Confirmation.
Yeah. I don't think
Yeah.
it's that, I guess it's not that uncommon. To me, it was
And it,
really
yeah.
bizarre, but I
Huh.
guess it is a thing. And I think there are a lot of us who incarnated here to sort of be the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily part of, the I guess, larger collective consciousness of humanity, but we've
Yeah.
incarnated in human form so that we have access to that, to
Mm.
the collective consciousness, because the frequency of the human body is what connects us to the greater consciousness of that particular group. And so that was the only way that we can actually access that level of consciousness for humanity, is to incarnate in human form and
Mm.
bring with us whatever gifts that we have to share from, the perspective of the soul, I guess you could call it, or the rest of our consciousness. So we do have skills, those of us who are here. And, the people who refer to them as star seeds, or they feel like there's something not right, they're not supposed to be here, just feels a little weird being on this
Mhm.
planet.
Yeah.
It's likely that that's what's happening. They have a star family someplace and they are here because they volunteered to be here.
And all
So,
the empaths and everything. I really feel that it's people. You can feel the difference, right? I think you can feel a difference
yeah,
between like I mean, a
Yeah.
crystal child or something, that they just come with a different kind of
mm,
setting, mental setting,
yeah,
and emotional setting as well.
yep,
So yeah, I absolutely believe that it makes sense as well to help
Mhm.
yeah,
humanity raise the vibration.
yeah. I think that was probably the most effective and least intrusive way to do it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
In
And
other words,
also
yeah, go
they
ahead.
would be respecting also the free will of humanity, right? So they would just be just joining and helping with the vibration, but they wouldn't be interfering with the free will, which I understand that it's a big
Right.
topic.
Yes, exactly, exactly. The other thing is, there was something I was going to say and it just popped out of my head. I don't remember what it was. If it comes to me, I'll tell you. It was something that had to do with, I don't remember what it was. It just escaped my mind. It had to do with, coming here from another level of consciousness and incarnating into the human consciousness so that, we can help to raise the frequency without being intrusive. Yep. It's much more difficult for a being from a higher vibration to be here in our 3D space in their physical form, because this is a very heavy environment. It's very dense. And so a being of a higher frequency literally pops out. Like, imagine trying to hold a ping pong ball underwater. Okay. It takes some effort. You let it go, it just pops right out of the water. It doesn't stay down. And so that takes a lot of effort and energy for them to maintain a physical form that can actually, survive literally in this dense atmosphere. Plus, they don't have the immune systems that we have. We're really tough. Humans are really pretty tough. All the viruses and bugs and all the things that we have a pretty amazing immune system. And a lot of ETs don't, because they don't have to. A lot of their environments where they are nowhere near as diverse as what we have here. So they don't have to have an immune system that is, able to handle so many different things. So they can get sick. And so what I've heard that a lot of them do is either incarnate here and actually have a life as a human, and now I just remembered what I was going to tell you earlier. It's important to be able to actually experience what it's like to be a human in order to truly connect with a collective consciousness. The grief, the struggle, the happiness, the sadness, the full range of emotions. Those are vibrations that connect us with the vibration of the collective consciousness. And so it's actually important to really be a human, literally, in order to be able to help in the way that, the reason why we came here to help, to raise the frequency. You got to be able to do it in human form. Whatever it is that you did in your other form, you got to learn how to do it in human form. That's how that works. But back to how ETs show up, on our planet, some of them actually transfer their consciousness into bodies that are built specifically for that reason. They are synthetic. They look human. They can pass for human. And, they move around and they look very real, human-like, but they're actually just synthetic forms. And that really disturbs some people. But it does happen. It's one of the methods.
So, but you're saying that currently on planet Earth, there are beings that they seem to have a earthly body, but they don't?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's new.
Yes. Oh, they're here. They're among us. There are many species of humanoids that look very human.
How do you know? By their frequency? By how we feel around them?
Yes. You can tell by their frequency. You can tell, how you feel around them. The interesting part about being around these beings who have a higher frequency is that it doesn't necessarily feel good to be around them, because their high vibration is in contrast with our lower vibrations, the things that we have in our shadow, like fear and anger and jealousy and contempt and all of these things can actually arise in the presence of higher frequencies. And so sometimes we run into people that just rub us the wrong way for whatever reason. They're not doing anything. You can tell that they're nice. They're not doing anything to you. They're not obnoxious in any way. And for some reason, you just can't stand them. I don't know if you've had that experience. I've had that experience a couple of times. And it's quite possible, whether or not it's an ET, it doesn't really matter. That person or being has a higher frequency, and that's what stirs up all the negativity that I have stored that I haven't faced yet. And that's one of the reasons why Bashar says that they don't come down here. The Sasani people don't come here, in physical form, is because we would go into psychotic shock when all of these negativities that we are storing within our field come up to the surface because they can't entrain with their frequency. Their frequency is way too high. So it totally makes sense, even at a physical level, that it's difficult to be around these beings. Now, those who come here on Earth and actually, start functioning here and they work here and so on, have learned how to adjust their frequency and how to manage their energy flow so that they don't provoke those kind of reactions. But that takes a lot of effort. And it's not the easiest thing to do, which is why when they come here, they have to go back. Eventually, they have to leave the planet and go back to wherever it is, ship, state, space station or whatever. They have to be someplace else in order to regain their strength in a way and in order to go back to their own frequency. Because coming here, you have to lower your frequency in order to be able to stay in this atmosphere. So
and what do these beings do on planet Earth? Like, do they go into politics? Do they just do they work in corporate jobs? Or do they do like
those are very good questions. Because personally, I think, and this is just my opinion, okay, I think it's all of that. Because obviously, if you're in politics or if you're a CEO or whatever, you can have a lot of influence over a lot of people. But the little guy who doesn't make the news also has a huge influence on separate individuals. And so beings who are from a higher dimension, they perceive time very differently. And I know that's kind of hard to understand, but I remember this one time when I was in traffic, all of a sudden it sort of came to me. I don't know if I had a download or what it was. But let's say that I'm driving on one direction on a highway and you, Renata, are driving in the other direction. Okay, so we're driving towards each other. Well, you know that I'm on the highway driving in that one direction, but as you're driving, you come across an accident that's on my side of the road. And so the accident just happened. You can see cars starting to pile up. So you pick up the phone and you tell me, Aurora, you might want to get off at the next exit because you're going to get stuck in traffic. And then you continue driving. Well, right now, in that moment, that accident is in your past, but it's in my future. I haven't experienced it yet. And let's say that Soraya is on a news helicopter above this whole thing. And Soraya, you can see my car, you can see Renata's car, and you can see the accident at the same time. And so this is how other beings work with time. Either they see the whole picture because they have a different vantage point. And I don't mean a physical, like a location. It's just the way that their consciousness functions. Or, there's different levels. Like for, Renata, you were still on the same kind of plane, but you were in a different timeline. You had already experienced what I was still going to experience. And that actually works literally even with humans. It doesn't have to be a being from another space. But it's got to do with a level of consciousness where they operate, where time is no longer linear, where things that appear to be in sequence do happen simultaneously. And the higher up you raise in levels of consciousness, the more you are able to understand that everything happens simultaneously. It's not just two people driving towards each other and the accident. Higher and higher levels, you get to see that everything on Earth is happening simultaneously, which is why a lot of astronauts come back to Earth going, why are you guys fighting? It's so absurd. You'll live on the same planet. And I think that's a pretty good analogy. At least I understood it better when I saw it that way. So that's why they can make an impact on the lives of individuals, is because they kind of know what's happening and they can give a little guidance. Not interfere with free will,
But
but just guide.
Bashar once explained this, and I thought it was a very simple and practical way to explain it. Actually, was like the television. You
Mm-hmm.
have all the
Yeah.
channels, and when
Yeah.
you want to see something, you can actually play it back, not play it backwards, but what's the words?
Change the channel.
Um, rewind,
Oh,
no,
yay!
rewind whatever channel you're on,
Right.
or you can choose the moment what you want to see. If you want to rewind whatever the movie and you
Mhm.
start it from the beginning, or you can
Yeah.
change the channel, but everything is happening simultaneously. So it
Right.
makes a lot of sense. And I think also in the movies you kind of grasp the idea, because currently there's a lot of movies that explain this concept.
Yeah.
And
That's a good thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's awesome to imagine that we're sharing the world with beings that came in to help and
Yeah.
are kind of deployed, if we can say
Mhm.
it like this,
Yeah,
here
that's
just
good.
to, yeah, just to kind of experience and understand why are we as we are as a society, and help from the within, right? Help because they
Right.
all also experiencing this. um I wanted to ask you, so what do you think is it's the what do you think is the timeline they see for planet Earth? Do you have any idea?
Oh gosh. The reason why I can't really answer that is because there are multiple timelines. And
Yeah.
so, like Bashar talks about how, it's like a train station and they start diverging, and so
Yeah.
whatever train you pick, eventually you won't be able to get off and move to another train. That's where you're going to be. That's actually a very good analogy. And that's exactly the kind of sense that I get. I also get the sense that no timeline is better than any other.
Well,
No
well,
judgment. No
Maybe
judgment.
it's
It
more
is what, yeah.
difficult or more
well,
pleasant, but it's not better. The experiences are different.
It's
The
different. It's
experience of
different.
it can be
Yeah.
more difficult,
Yeah.
or it could be easier or more enjoyable, but that does not mean better or worse. Each timeline provides the lessons that the souls who are on that timeline need. And
yeah.
even though we find ourselves in a place where you're thinking, I don't want to be here. I couldn't possibly have done this to myself. In reality, um, we do. We don't realize it at the conscious level because that's part of the deal with being a human is to separate ourselves, from our higher mind and from these higher perspectives so that we can really, really, really be concentrated and focused on what's going on in
Yeah.
3D. But there is a part of us that makes these decisions that we end up playing out here. So it's still us.
Yeah. And there's also this concept that
Mhm.
now there's a lot of people saying this on YouTube, and that the planet is now also kind of dividing into the 5D planet Earth
Yeah,
and the old 3D planet Earth, and kind
yeah,
of people will now, technically the shift should be happening as we speak, and
yeah.
some people are choosing to go the higher vibration path
Mhm.
and elevate their vibration and go with the 5D. And so yeah, technically, um
Yeah,
the trains, right, are actually
right.
now becoming like multiple and
Yeah.
going different.
Well, here's the other thing. You can share the same apparent physical space with a being who is in a higher dimension. And I realized that this one time I had dinner with a friend of mine. Well, she's not my friend
Mm.
anymore. She was very negative. And so we're having dinner together, and
Okay.
I was having a great time. We got up to leave, and she's pointing to this couple who was sitting at the bar who were, a little drunk, and they were
Mm.
arguing. And she told me, these guys have been arguing the whole time that we've been here. Now, I didn't see them, even though I had the same, I could see the bar. I could see exactly what she was saying, but I didn't see those people until she pointed them out. I did not experience these people
Okay.
fighting at the bar. And so that's when I realized, oh, because here I am, I'm having a great time. I'm in a happy mood. I'm feeling positive. So I'm in a different frequency than she is. So I didn't notice the things that are, in that lower frequency, the things that are unpleasant, people fighting, people arguing. It just never entered my awareness at all. And that made it very clear to me about how you can be in the same space as another person who is functioning at a lower vibration. That's why when people with depression, when you try to tell them that there's a solution or there's a way out or there's something that can be done to better their situation, people who have depression have a really difficult time agreeing that, yes, there is a way, because they don't see it as possible. That's part of being depressed. I mean, it just does something to you that sort of locks you in this place of depression and kind of keeps you trapped in that way. And it's very difficult for somebody who has depression to just say, to feel hopeful about something. Yes, this is going to work. Know that it's going to work. They just can't do it. And I know this from personal experience. Going to therapy. Oh, this is not so bad, and so on. So, that's how you can tell when you feel that things
Now
are
that
not.
you're saying this,
Yeah.
Do you
now that you're
you
saying this, it makes a lot of sense. Go on, Renata.
Yeah, that's how I kind of explain it to myself, because, I don't think that, at least this is just not my opinion, where half the population is going to disappear and appear in a 5D Earth. I don't think that's going to happen suddenly. I think it's going to be more of a transition that, will be more or less imperceptible. You won't be able to notice from one day to the next, like this humongous change. It's just going to happen gradually over time. And that's
I see it like some friends will just fade away. Like naturally you will lose contact with these people, they just naturally will fade from your life story. It's like, wow, you'll not think about it. Happened to me, and I'm not even, it happened to me. Some friends that became so different in vibration that they just faded away from my life, and I can relate to this concept. Sorry, you're going to say something.
Yeah, okay.
Well, one way you can tell that you are no longer in the same frequency or on the same dimension as somebody else is when you haven't argued with this person. There's absolutely no qualm between you, and for some reason they just disappear and you forget about them. If you forget about those people and all of a sudden a couple of years later you go, oh, I forgot all about that person, the time when that person was not on your mind, that's how you know that individual is on a completely different plane of existence, or a different level of consciousness than you are. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just different.
Of course.
It's just different. It could be somebody who's a very nice person, but they have a completely different interest. Maybe they are, very religious and they pursue that path, and that's how they do the good that they want to do in the world. I personally am not a religious person. I go more for, the kinds of things that you and I are discussing right now. And so I've diverged from my friend who went in that direction. I don't think about her anymore. I know she's a very nice person, and I have nothing against what she's doing, and I'm very supportive. But I got my own thing I'm doing over here. And so what resonates with me doesn't resonate with her. It's all about what you resonate with ultimately inside.
Yeah,
that's how you
absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
So and it's not like a clear line between 4D and 5D. It's more of a gradient, okay? It's more of a gradient.
Yeah, these concepts are all very, very interesting. And I see all of this happening throughout my life. So I've shed many layers, many many skins, and with those many people just dropped, just naturally. Some naturally went away. Some I just stopped speaking because it didn't make sense anymore. But that, I think back then I didn't think about elevating my frequency. No, it's like more like you were feeling, like, how do I feel? No, how do I feel around this person? And it was more like this. And now I'm completely there. It's like, I feel it. So it's like, I was finding very interesting when you were saying that you were drawing by feeling. So not so much by image, but my feeling and connecting is this feeling. So you must be super tuned. And I'm sure it's difficult to explain the type of tuning, because feeling and drawing, it's not, it would not be the most, I don't know, thing that you would think, I feel and I draw through feeling. But what I was going to ask was the beings that make the Council of Eight. So is their frequency more or less the same? Or is very, they're very distinct. They must be all very elevated, right?
They're very, very different. And you know what I'm going to try to do is, I have a group portrait of them that I can share with you. Let me see if I can get that up, because I think that, talking about them, it'll be, let me see, where is it? I'm looking for the final. Yes, there it is. Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna bring them up here real quick. They're very different because they all are from different dimensions, and so I can't necessarily access them in the same way. Let me see if you can see that. Did that pop up?
Yes.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
With a bunch of beings around him, and you can see the guy with the beanie hat. That's Zark, and then the other gray on the other side of the guy in the center. For example,
the empty
what's
chair
that? Exactly. That's exactly it. That's an invitation for humanity to join at that table. That's exactly.
Oh, that's so nice.
I got it.
Can I join? Can I go? I want to go.
Absolutely. If from the bottom you see the two blondes down there, they are Arcturians, and they're fifth dimensional Arcturians.
Okay.
Ort is the name of the male, and that's Dee. She's actually his partner. But Ort is the one who communicates the most with the members in our group, in our exoconscious group. Right. And it's fascinating because we can validate one another and give one another confirmation, because he tells us about this, the same kinds of things. And so, that's really pretty interesting. He's very, very connected. To the right of him, this lady in the, kind of the purple, she is a tall white. And she is a bioengineer. Yeah. Next to her is a mantis being, and his name is Chica. I have a lot of contact with him. He's ancient and very well respected, but also can laugh at himself. The one next to him, going, from right to left, that's Targ, that you saw him. He's the security guy. The guy in the center, his name is Ra, R-A-H, and he actually does not have physical form. He is a ninth dimensional Arcturian. I mean, not Arcturian, I'm sorry. He's an Anunnaki who has, evolved his consciousness past, he doesn't have to incarnate anymore. And so he appears if I draw a picture of him, he does show up in, Anunnaki form, because that's the label that I guess to him is the one that resonates with him the most, I suppose. I'm not sure why he doesn't pick any other shapes, but yeah, he sees himself as Anunnaki.
Okay, so here you pictured him as a kind of human form, but it's not, right? In the Anunnaki form is very different, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I drew two different versions of him because, like I said, he doesn't have a physical form.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because of that, let me see if I can find him over here.
He kind of gave me the vibe when I saw this picture before in your website. Kind of
Yeah,
came to my mind Jesus. I don't know why. Maybe because he's kind of
interesting.
from. He reminds me Middle East
Yes,
people from, right? Kind
yes,
of
yes,
that vibe.
yes. He has the darker screen, the darker skin than everybody else.
Yep.
And that's what I did. Like in this drawing I made of him, the first drawing I made of him. You know, if he, there's a combination of things in this drawing. Clearly, you can see the Egyptian connection,
Yeah, here
but at the
is
same time, the jewels are at the bottom, the triangles at the bottom with the red circles inside. Those are actually from kings of Mesopotamia. So it's still that part of the world, but not the Egyptian. This is later on. Um, you know, where the kings have sort of developed. It's not in Europe. It's still in that part of the world, but it's a
Yep.
different era. And the wings in the back, those are, you know, very native um, roots, so to speak. So he has incarnated many, many times here in many, many different forms. And yet he feels most connected with the Anunnaki form. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure why. And the funny thing
Okay,
about
that's
this picture
curious.
is the earrings. He actually asked me to give him earrings because I wasn't going to. And, you know, that was a request that he made. Um, but because, you know, he feels more Anunnaki than anything else, that's why I drew, you know, his likeness as an Anunnaki in the second drawing.
I was also noticing that there's a lot of kind of the DMT vibe in this drawing. I don't know
Oh,
if you noticed.
no, I
Uh,
don't do any drugs. Or
uh,
I,
uh,
I yeah, I don't do any of
no, no,
that.
I completely, I would
Yeah.
imagine. But what I guess what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to say is a little bit different. Is I wonder why this message would come through with that vibe. And let me see if I can
Oh, I
explain
see what you
myself.
mean. Okay.
What I'm trying to say is, I had one experience where, only one experience, and I had a message where I kind of connected to this energy. What I felt was, and I that's why I also understand the telepathy that you mentioned, because it's kind of a download that goes into yourself, and you just know things, and you feel
Yes.
this.
Hmm.
You don't know why you're feeling and where it's coming from, or it's just a download. It's how I feel it. It's how I
Hmm.
understand it. It's like something gets plugged into me and I just know and feel.
Yeah.
And the information that I got was I was just seeing this kind of the energy, fundamental energy of the universe, like God itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very similar to the image that you showed. That's why I'm
Oh.
bringing this up. Yeah, because it was the same patterns. It was like this as well, kind of a spiral.
Mm.
It wasn't specifically spiral, but it was coming like this with this form, and it was shifting into everything that is everything, and that it exists. Like as it would go, like a kind of a snake, it would shift. And the message that I was given was, we can be everything we want to be.
Oh, wow.
And yes, and the patterns were there, and the message was kind of a freeing message of, we are the ones who decide and recreate
Mhm.
everything, and everything is possible. And so, yeah, I just wanted to say this because I saw and I completely connected with this, because I felt like I've seen this before in a
Yeah.
certain way.
Well, that's actually
And there's a lot
confirmation
of.
and validation for both of us because there is this field where, you know, everything is. And so when you start, like you're recognizing patterns in what I drew, and I'm recognizing the patterns in what you're saying, that tells me that we both accessed that field
Yeah.
of consciousness, because that's what's there. That's how it appears. That's, how it shows. And so that's, really amazing. I mean, everybody has their own interpretation and their own perception of things. And DMT is not, I mean, as a chemical that our body makes. And
It
so
is. Yes.
it
Yeah.
is, yeah. So there are times like during meditation when, and they've done research on this, during meditative states, the chemistry of the brain changes. Also, brain waves change. And so it is possible for somebody who is in deep meditation to actually have a release of DMT just naturally, just because they are in that meditative
Yes.
state. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with using some of these, chemicals or plants or whatever to access higher levels of consciousness, as long as it's done, you do it responsibly and with respect, because these are teachers
You know,
ultimately.
yes,
So
and
there's nothing wrong
DMT,
with that.
people don't even need to do like mushrooms or plants or anything to experience DMT, higher doses of DMT, because
Yeah.
actually it can be done via breath work.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It just,
So,
takes a little
and
practice.
I just wanted to also show you a little bit of these. I don't know if you can see them, but these are the Australian paintings that I was saying my background is blurring. Let me see if I can take the blur. But I wanted to show you this. I think it's really interesting. I don't know how to remove the blur, but
Yeah.
yes, if you,
Well, you're
I
doing,
think
yeah.
it's kind of,
Oh, yes, I see. I see that. And I
it's
see
very
it.
similar.
Yeah,
It's very similar to the
Aboriginal
background you
art.
have.
I do have Aborigine art in my home that my husband brought when he went to Australia. So I know exactly what you mean. Oh, wow. That's
Oh,
trippy.
okay.
I'm looking at one right
How
now,
cool.
actually, on my desk. Oh, that's pretty cool.
So,
That's pretty
so
cool.
I'm sure the Aborigines people, as we know, I think this is very rational, logical. They also connect with these beings in their trance meditations and their sessions of where they incorporate and everything, and they connect. And I guess the art we see is also brought and channeled, and it's this that we're seeing. It's them channeling connections with other beings, and yeah, it's awesome. We're
That
all
makes sense.
connecting to
It
the same
does.
thing.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that
Yeah.
the native people, regardless where they're from, um, they have an easier time accessing these levels of consciousness because they haven't been shamed into, giving up the connection that we have with the higher realms. Where here, in the Western world, oh, it's all woo woo, it's all,
Yes.
yeah,
Crazy
it's
talk.
exactly. And, if you go there, you lose credibility, are made fun of, and so on and so forth. And that's why I think a lot of um, the individuals who identify themselves, as um, star seeds, they haven't lost that connection, but we live in a world where that kind of connection, is shamed. So we don't feel like we belong. We have this other extra thing that nobody seems to understand, that everybody laughs at, that keeps us from feeling like we belong because others around us don't have this connection. And that connection can be there, and we don't have to necessarily be aware of it. The potential is there. So I'm not just saying that people who know, yes, for sure, I know I'm a starseed, so definitely I can access that. There are people who walk around who haven't recognized that they are able to make that connection. And so
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the potential is always there. And even for for humanity, the potential is always there. Any individual can access these places. I just think that for those who come here as starseeds, it might be just a little easier.
Oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
yeah,
The,
but
the,
if anybody can access it in human form, any human can do that in human form. It's just,
Yeah.
sometimes maybe it's easier or a little more difficult. It
mm,
doesn't help that our children are shamed into going there.
of course.
I
Because
mean,
they do
star
have an easy time
seeds.
connecting.
Yeah, star seeds, it's easier because they just know how to connect with themselves and go inwards, and they can follow
Mm,
their instinct and just connect.
right.
While other people need to actually be explained about all of these concepts and break down all the mental rules that they have been given by society,
Yeah.
and that this is not just crazy talk, that they might exist and
Right.
so on. And they need to do this deconstruction work that
Hmm.
takes, I think, more time than even accepting. The accepting
Yeah.
part is like quick, but the deconstruction part it's what takes a lot of time.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not even a matter of learning something new. It's just a matter of remembering that you already know how to
Yes.
do that. But there's all of this toxic beliefs that are piled up on top of it, that's why we don't necessarily have easy access to it. So what you're talking about deconstructing, yeah, that totally makes a lot of sense. But that's not the
Yeah.
easiest thing to do because all of these toxic beliefs keep being reinforced by the culture that we live in. So it's difficult. It's an uphill climb. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm very curious because the world and the American government specifically, and other governments as well, the French government, have been starting to kind of give the feeling that they will start opening up about these topics
Hmm.
and disclosure and so on. So I wonder, to be honest, I think about and I imagine, how will the world react when either one, there's kind of open contact, which I don't
Hmm.
think is going to be like that because it would be too frightening. But like option B, if one of the governments would just one day decide to release everything and say, okay, you know what? They exist. We have contact. It is true. It is all true. And I wonder how people would react, to be honest, if they would all start shouting and running in the streets, or they would be happy.
That's a
I,
very good question.
I think it
Very good
will
question.
mostly denial. I would think for a while. I think it's going to be denial. I think,
Yeah, that it's
I,
not real, possibly. That,
and then
but
over
you're right.
time, as it
Special
becomes
effects.
normal and they speak, maybe they start. Okay, maybe this is true. Okay, this is true. But I think that the first thing might be denial, unless there is a real appearance of a ship that lands and, and they come out of the ship, kind of sort of like movie like. This would be
Yeah.
real, but I don't think they are going to be doing this because I don't feel
And
it's this.
even
Even then,
then, I don't
Yeah.
know that people will believe that it's real, that everybody will believe that it's real. Some people will just dismiss it as CGI if they see it on TV or, some other form of
yeah.
it's
But I
not
think
being
it's
real.
nothing.
Costumes or whatever. I don't know. I would imagine that if you're really not ready to accept it, you're not going to accept it
Yeah,
no matter how much proof or evidence you
Yeah, I
see.
mean, I can imagine people like saying, going into a ship and saying, "No, this is not real. I mean, we can do this in Earth. This is done by us." And then only once the ship takes off and they're off the planet and they see it, then they're like, "Oh crap, this is actually real."
yeah.
Yeah, it really takes a lot. It really takes a lot if you really, really think about it. Plus, I think what's going to make the biggest difference, to be honest with you, is how the public is prepared beforehand. And you could totally see how easily manipulated we can be if you think back to COVID. and all of the different rules that they put in place, and a lot of the things that turned out to be nonsense years later, a few years later, we're just so hardline. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. And then later on, a few years later, we realized that there really was no basis for some of the things that we were, I don't want to say forced or manipulated, because that doesn't sound right. But we were encouraged.
Well,
They usually fear. They
Or,
usually agenda, no?
fear-based. Yeah. Or
the
using
fear
fear.
agenda. Yeah, the
Yeah.
fear agenda.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So
You
go either way, depending on how the government wants us to respond, I think. If they decide to
and
manipulate us with fear, it's not going to be pretty.
Aurora, so you have all of these contacts, right? And I wonder, what would like have they ever like materialized, or do you have like is there a possibility, because you have an easier uh kind of, how can I say this, an easier chance to contact them, can I say, because we also, Renata and myself, we've done C5s as well, and we've tried to establish contact, and I would love to have future contacts, and but I'm just thinking, because you have this connection already established, like, have you ever asked to for a physical contact? And
Oh, I sure
you know
have. I sure have. But the thing about me being able to connect easier, I've been meditating for 30 years.
Mm,
And regularly. So, my meditation practice is very important to me. Now, it's what works for me. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody has to meditate 30 years to get to where I am. I'm not
mm,
saying that at all. But I've noticed that for me, that has helped me to recognize very subtle signals, so to speak. And so the physical form, I can't say that I have seen an ET in physical form while I am confident that I'm fully conscious.
mhm.
But I have had some very vivid dreams that, I can't say 100% for sure that those were not dreams. I am pretty sure they weren't dreams because I don't know how would have come up with that stuff in my dreams. But, I can't say, oh, yes, this being showed up in my bedroom and we shook hands and I gave him a hug and so on, although I have asked for that. The closest thing that I get is it literally feels like there's somebody in the room. And it's undeniable
Okay.
that there's somebody in the room. Nothing moves around, I don't, experience lights flashing or, things flying around or moving, nothing out of the ordinary. But just like, when you get a download, that that's true. It's that same kind of gut feeling. I know this being is here.
Mhm.
And the more I am able to tune in to their presence or to that feeling, the more clear that becomes. The more clear their presence becomes. And it makes sense because what I'm doing is like a radio. An
Yeah,
analog radio where you're tuning for the station. And,
yeah.
when you got it just
And you're
right,
also
you're,
accepting contact.
yes, exactly. Oh, yeah. Fear will make all positive beings just go away. They will. They will not come near you if you're afraid. And it has a lot to do with the vibration of fear. Fear is the exact opposite of love. And so if these
Mhm.
beings are coming with loving kindness and we're afraid, that's a huge contrast. And so it doesn't feel good to them. You know how fear doesn't feel good to us either. Well, imagine a being
It
who
is true. Yeah.
yeah, in a space of, continuous loving kindness and compassion, being near somebody who's vibrating at that frequency. They can have
I
compassion
never
for us, but they're not
uh,
going to interact physically because that only makes it
I never
worse.
I had never thought about that, but it makes a lot of sense. Like when you see someone that has a lot of it has a lot of fear in it, right? The person is either shaking, or the voice is trembling, and there's no reason, but the person is just stressed out or something, some reason, and
Mhm,
you can feel it, and it's not nice, right? You
mhm.
it's some there's something on the vibration that you don't want to be there as well.
Yeah,
I had never thought about it like on the other perspective, why they wouldn't want to be with us with that vibration. That makes sense.
Yeah. I have heard, and this is just an interview that I heard. It was Emery Smith on Gaia, and he was talking about how he works side by side with ETs during, taking samples, medical procedures type of thing, medical research. And what he said was that before he walks into the room where these beings are, he literally has to take a beat outside of the, by the door before he goes in and just center himself. Because if he walks in there all woohoo, that's very disturbing to these beings. It's easier for them to approach us if we are able to pretty much direct our energy flow and be able to have some control over our vibrations and our frequency.
Emotions.
Yes, exactly. So if we are very emotional and we just sort of, go on this roller coaster of emotional intensity without any kind of control, that's too intense and too disturbing for a being who's really, really sensitive.
So let me ask you, because we know that pop culture has kind of demonized all the extraterrestrial beings, right? I mean, it has been used on films and in the on all over the web. You can see like the grays. They are kind of associated with terror movies, and when you see one, you kind of unconsciously go like, ooh. So I think I'm wondering, like, if someone is watching this podcast and thinks, I have this fear because it's unconscious, because I have been bombarded with this message since an early age. How can I deconstruct this, and what is like a message or an exercise or something that you can kind of give to the people that they can try to work it, to maybe have a connection?
I can tell you what works for me. Meditation works, but not everybody likes to meditate. Drawing or something artistic, something that engages the right side of the brain. Something that kind of steers away from just clear logical thinking and gets into more the feely kind of stuff. Listening to music that you like can put you in that state of being receptive and loving, because that's kind of where we need to be in order to be able to perceive anything that's, directed at us, any kind of message or anything like that. Drawing works for me. As when I start to draw these beings, the more clearly I see them, I perceive them, because again, it's about tuning to their frequency. So anything that puts me in a state where I am relaxed and open and I feel connected and everything is fine and everything is peaceful, those are the ideal states to be in if you're reaching out to connect. And you can tell in the CE5 protocols that Dr. Greer puts out, it is about getting into this level of consciousness where, you are connected to the greater consciousness and peaceful and loving kindness and all of these things. So whatever it takes for a person to put themselves in that state, it doesn't matter, as long as you can get there and stay there for a little while, 15, 30 minutes, the longer, the better. But it takes practice, and it's not the easiest thing to do. There's another thing that I want to add about fear. It's not only that our minds can be afraid, but this physical structure, when it's in the presence of something that is not of this planet, the body itself freaks out. So it's got Yes, it's a fight or flight response that has nothing to do with anything other than just pure instinct. That's, if you want to think of it in terms of, that's the software that every human body comes with. It's part of being a human body, that it comes with that. There's certain instincts and reflexes that have nothing to do with whether or not I've had a traumatic childhood. And so there are some things that, are pretty much impossible to get around. They do take a lot of practice.
Yeah.
So, for example, one thing that I try to do is I've gone to places. I'm afraid in the dark most of the time. If I'm going to be afraid, it's going to have to be dark. And so what I've done is I've gone to places that I know that they're safe, like at the beach, for example, but there's nobody around. There are no other people around. And that makes me very anxious. And so what I do is I try to sit with that anxiety and just observe it. Just say, okay, I'm anxious. I could leave right now. But I want to see what happens if I just stay anxious. Is it going to change? Is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse? What's going to happen? And knowing that I'm always giving myself permission to leave. I'm not forcing myself to stay there. And so it's interesting to notice how that changes. Because I'll find myself, okay, I'm calming down, and then the wind goes through, rustling the leaves. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Somebody sneaking up behind
Everything
me.
comes back again. Yeah.
So it's those kinds of feelings and reactions that come with the physical body, with the human body. And yeah, you can, work with them and come out of them and whatever. But, the first response physically is going to be that when you're in the presence of something that is not of this planet. And if you're not,
it's very interesting because Renata actually has it's her, what she's devoted to. She's a coach of feelings and energy and everything. And she's actually developing a YouTube channel on this, on how to sit with emotions, right?
Yeah. Cool.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's actually excellent because it shows you it teaches you how to regulate your emotions and not get overcome by them. In other words, instead of being controlled by your emotions, you're controlling them, or at least you're working with them in a way that it still gives you, makes you feel empowered. And you don't just sort of.
And it's exactly what you were saying. You just be with it. You just be with it. But what I was going to ask is, when you already established an intimate connection with a being, for example, you were saying that you connect a lot with Chica. So this is no longer being activated anymore, right?
Yeah. Once the connection is made, it's a lot easier for me to connect with that being because I know their frequency. I know the channel. And I can go there much easier. A lot of the time, connecting with a being takes long because we're trying to figure out what's the frequency. Where are you? At least that's how I experience it. And so I start with compassionate love because that's a common frequency to the types of beings that I want to connect to, at least. And that's why I never see negative beings. I've never had an experience with a negative being at all. And so when Bashar says that, it's really up to us whether or not we engage with a negative being, that totally makes sense to me because I've never had an experience with a negative being because I always stay in this state of compassionate love and loving kindness. So only beings who are in that state are going to be able to perceive me, and I'm only going to be able to perceive those kinds of beings. It's like I didn't see the couple at the bar fighting. They were there and they were fighting, but I didn't see them. And so that's kind of how I see it, how it works for me. At least that's how I understand it. So it takes time to find the person's frequency. Bashar did a really clever thing with, I don't know if you remember the Enneagram, where he has symbols for the different civilizations. Like he has, for example, for the Arcturians, it's a 7-pointed star, that is orange. And he calls those like the phone numbers for the different civilizations. And so when we look at symbols and we try to experience those symbols, what they feel like in our body, that is tuning to the frequency of that symbol. That supposedly is the same as the frequency of those beings. That's why he did that. And it's interesting because with symbols are nonlinear. And a lot of these beings don't operate in a linear way because their experience of time and their relationship to time is completely different. So when you are connecting with a symbol, it's much more accurate. That feeling, that vibration is much more accurate,
Okay.
with whatever that society, that civilization feels like. And so it's very effective. I bet you if I show you guys the image, you would recognize it
You look at the
because I did
symbol.
draw some.
You
Yeah,
look at
hang
the
on just
symbol
a second.
and you kind of evoke their presence, or
Um,
just look
bear with
at
me
the
for
symbol.
1 second here. Let me get this guy
I
up, and
was
I will
just
share.
thinking then that the symbols is actually why the starships, they always have a bunch of symbols,
Yeah.
right?
Symbols are a way to communicate nonlinearly. Symbols are a
Yeah,
visual
yeah,
version of telepathy
yeah, yeah. It's how,
because
yeah, it's a kind of it's a way to provide information in a download. It's like a
right.
pen, a pen drive with a bunch of information.
Yeah. And so these symbols that are around here, you can see all the very top left over there. That's the Orion with the white and the red and the black. You can barely see it. And on the opposite side is the gray civilization with the white and the gray and the black. And then down below here, the triangle, the blue triangle, that's the Sasani civilization. And there's the Arcturian. Actually, it's a white star against the orange background. And then over to the left, the thing that looks like an eyeball, I believe that's Sirius. And below that, that's supposed to be 7 white circles inside a blue circle. Those are the Pleiades. And so meditating on these symbols or drawing these symbols by hand really helps, can really help you to get in touch with the vibration of that civilization. And down here at the bottom, that big yellow one with the red and the blue, that's supposed to be Anunnaki. And so these are all the different civilizations that Bashar put them in like a little table where, 9 squares and then the earth is in the middle, or the earth has its own symbol. It's like 3 squares, arranged so that they're not on top of each other. They're like at a 90-degree angle, and it's a blue and a green and a white. I think those are the colors.
Okay.
So symbols, like light language, for example, is all symbols. It's not actual words. Those
Yeah.
are actually, that's energy depicted in symbolic form. And so when you look at light language, we're not reading it from left to right. It's just that entire configuration that we look at. It doesn't have a beginning or end. It doesn't matter where you start looking at it, from right to left or left to right or upside down. It makes no difference. It's that entire configuration of symbols. And that's how at least for me, that's the only way that I feel that I can communicate non-linearly. It's through symbols or, through art.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
That's one
sense.
way to do it. Yeah.
Um, I also, on a point that I mentioned before on the fear factor, and how to escape the fear factor in regards to other beings, there's one exercise that Bashar has in his website, and I invite everyone to go there and see it, which
Yeah.
is he has images of what he says it's would be him in his natural form, and another gray being, and he has pictures, and he says print the picture
Yeah.
in real size, like if I were, like
Oh, I know
my
what
head would
you're
be
referring to.
real,
I know
and
what you're
put it on
referring.
a window.
Yeah.
And I had did that exercise. Put it on the window as if I were just popping up in your window, and at night, and just look at my face and get used to it and think about like love and good things, and don't be afraid. So it's a good
Yeah.
exercise because you're starting to get your brain used to looking into a gray, and he's
Right.
popping in your window, and it's dark and it's night, and you're actually thinking, oh good, I have a visitor.
Right.
And I can tell you, I did it myself, and it's not easy. I freaked out every time.
Yes. My children were not exactly happy with me when I did that. I mean, it was, yeah, I have those images. I can actually share them with you on my screen so that whoever's watching can actually see what we're talking about. And yeah, they're actually free to print and download
Yeah,
from Bookstars website. So this one is, um,
that's it. Yeah.
yes, this one is a Sasani, the Sasani face. He actually, I think he mentions it or he calls it a hybrid. Is
Yep.
specifically how he
Okay.
how he
So the
refers
idea
to it.
is to, yeah, the idea is to print this, put it on, like he says, on the window,
Window,
that you have like
yeah,
a feeling that it's actually someone real popping in your window, and just get
yeah,
used to it. Just like meditate, look into it, and
yeah.
change the feeling.
Oh,
This one is more complicated. This
Yes.
one,
This is the one to work with. If it gives you the
yeah.
weepies, then this is the one that you gotta work with. So, yeah, putting
is
this
this the big?
outside your window.
It's a big gray. This one,
Yes, this one's the gray.
a big one, a big one, or
I
small
have
one.
no idea how big he is. I'm not
Okay.
sure I think he's just pretty much a generic gray, I would say, just to get us used to looking at the features, at the facial features.
Yeah.
Now, there are
The-
many different types of grays who have different shaped faces.
Yeah.
So, they're all sort of lumped together as grays, but some of them even have different color skin. They're not gray at all. Some of them are purple.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or-
Yeah, but it does help the brain to get used to this image. Eventually, you don't see it as threatening anymore or odd. And it does help to condition us to not respond with fear. It was actually a very good
Let
idea, what he suggested to do.
let me tell you that after your pictures that you showed me, your drawings,
Hmm.
I looked into this picture in a different way.
Mm.
Really? Oh, that's really great. My drawings, the reason why these beings come to me to draw them in a specific way and why I go by feel and not by whatever they look like is because they've told me that they use those portraits to project their energy into our space. So whoever is
Uh,
looking at that drawing, whatever it is that they feel, that puts them in touch, a connection with the being in the portrait. And I've had people,
oh,
yeah, when I've put them on Facebook, and I have a link to my Google Drive too, where you can just download and share. I mean, it's free. I don't charge anything for my portraits. They're meant to be shared. They're meant to be spread wide. And when
okay.
I've posted them on Facebook, in the comments, I see, oh, I recognize this being. I know who this is. I remember this being from childhood. And
Oh,
yeah, and it's a being that came to me not from the Council of Eight, but who wanted to connect with a person, a specific person.
Hmm.
And yet somebody else recognizes that being. It may not be the same individual, but um, the energy signature, the frequency signature for each civilization is pretty much the same. I mean, the Sasani feel a certain way. Yes, every individual feels slightly different, but the general idea feels the same. So when people look at a portrait that I've made and they resonate with what they see in the picture, it's not necessarily that individual. They resonate with that civilization.
with that
And
vibration,
yeah, exactly. So
with
Okay.
that
it,
area code, kind
yeah,
of.
there you go. I like that. Yes, exactly. That's the area code. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
The Council of Eight, the portraits that I made of those guys, a lot of people recognized them as such,
Hmm.
as exactly who they were. And, that was pretty fascinating to get in touch with other people who have had the connection with the same being. That was
Mm.
really, really interesting. Yeah, there is one drawing that got a lot of response, and I'm going to put it up here real quick just so you can see it. And that was Ort. He really gets around.
Hmm.
He gets around. He makes contact with a lot of people. And the way that I this portrait came about is it's actually much more realistic than all the other portraits that I've done, because he wouldn't sit still for my portrait. He told me that I needed to learn how to draw more realistically and that I should go on YouTube and watch videos to learn how to draw things, more realistic, because he wanted to appear more realistic. His hair is not straight. His hair is wavy. And by the time I realized that, it was too late. I didn't want to change it. So that's why all this wavy stuff is around him, to kind of give that feel that his hair is really, it's kind of wavy. But when I drew him, I could not believe how I felt when I looked at him. When I looked in his eyes, it was like I got the goosebumps, seriously got the goosebumps. I have had people who have looked through my art notebook who have gotten to this page and started crying. And that was pretty mind-blowing to me, because none of my other drawings got that response. And this is not all that great. I mean, there are people out there who are much better artists than I am. But there's just something about this image that it really touched a lot of different people. And, I actually have a couple of different versions of him. Let me see if I can get the other one up that I have. This is before I colored it. And some people even say that this one they like this one better than the other one. And I'm going to show it to you here in a minute. Alrighty, let's see.
Are the Arcturians all blonde and blue eyes?
No, actually, some of them are blue. They have blue skin. Their skin is,
they're blue.
Some of them are blue. Some of them look just like humans. He looks just like a human, from what my friend told me, who, has actually seen him. But I, in a way, I kind of like this one better because it feels lighter, as in less heavy and complicated. He's more. The word pure doesn't exactly fit, but I can't think of another word. Just very light.
I feel like there's a lot of compassion.
Yes, exactly. And this being actually came to me when I was right after a car accident. I had a really bad car accident that, I was in a wheelchair for a while. And I was in a really bad place right after that accident. I stopped meditating. I was really depressed. And I remember this one morning, I was sitting on the couch. My kids were at school. My husband had gone to work. And I was just like, I'm just going to surf the channels, binge watch, do something, anything, so that I don't have to pay attention to myself anymore. And I was getting ready to do that. And I felt this nudge, like, I should go meditate. I haven't meditated in a while. I should go meditate. And I didn't really want to, but it was so insistent that I finally got up and I went into my little meditation room under the stairs, this closet under the stairs, and I sat down. And as soon as I closed my eyes, this shower of compassionate love, unconditional love, just poured over me. And it was so intense, it made me cry. And then this compassionate being, I couldn't see. I actually was afraid to open my eyes. It was so intense. I was afraid of what I might see. And this being who feels exactly like what I drew in this picture told me that this was not a punishment. And it said that a couple of times. He said that twice. This is not a punishment. And it's interesting that he went there, because that's exactly where I was with it. Thinking that I had done something wrong and I was being punished. And then he said something else that I never really been able to figure out. He said, and he made a reference, he didn't say a name, but he named a reference to this other being who was like in charge, or at the time, because I didn't know anything about ETs, I thought he was an angel referring to God. But, once I met my friend who channels Ort, I realized, holy cow, that was actually Ort. And then I got confirmation. But in any case, he was referencing to this other being who had more authority. And he said, whoever this is pleased with your progress. Those exact words. And I have no idea what that meant. And it was meant to be encouragement.
Actually, it makes a lot of sense. If you are actually kind of deployed on planet Earth and you came with a mission and your planet, your original body somewhere with your family and you're just
Yeah.
like here deployed, they're happy with, your mission. You're fulfilling it. It makes sense.
Yeah, that actually does make sense. I never thought of it that way. This happened like 2014. So it was what, 12 years ago. It was a long time ago. Like I said,
Yeah.
way before 2020 when everything changed.
Yeah.
So that is very interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, at the time, that
You didn't
idea
have the
didn't
context. Yeah.
exactly. I didn't have the
you
context.
missed the context of the
Right, right. And they
why
weren't
are why
forced.
why yeah, why is someone pleased with me? Like, what?
I
I'm
Yeah.
know.
sorry,
It's like, what
excuse
the
me.
heck?
Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a very, very intense experience, because after he said all of that, I got another, shower of this love that was just unbelievable, unbelievably intense. I've never
wow.
felt anything like that since then or before. And I immediately got up and I called my husband right away and I'm crying and I'm telling him, oh, I think an angel came to visit me. And my husband's very supportive. I mean,
That's so
he's
nice.
no matter where I'm at with things, he's very, very supportive. So yeah, he's very supportive with the ET thing as well. But yeah,
Let me
that's incredible.
I
Yeah. I had
completely
an
understand
experience.
sorry, Mata.
I was
Go
saying,
on. Sorry.
I also had an experience of unconditional love, like you're saying. So I understand because I
Oh,
felt that my body could not sustain it. It was so strong.
yes.
It was
Yes,
like
exactly.
I had to cry. I think the crying
Yes.
was a way of the
Yeah,
body being able to process it in a way or allow it to
right.
be, but it was
Yeah.
very strong. It was very
Didn't
strong.
you say that you
Mhm.
never had any contact?
No, it was when I was taking mushrooms. It was
Oh,
while taking
well,
mushrooms,
that
and I had
does not discount contact.
no. It
Now,
was
a
not a
lot of
contact.
people
Yeah?
Yeah,
who do s-
I couldn't
go-
say it was.
I didn't mean
I
to interrupt
assumed
you.
it was the mushrooms. No, the mushrooms the beings of mushrooms beings as a being. I didn't. Maybe it was
Huh.
something else.
Well,
But the experience was was very strong, and I could see back then. I was like it was like a lesson of how everyone around me would be if they had received unconditional love, if they had been
uh,
educated, and it was super strong because you could see people around you.
yeah,
You wouldn't be able to recognize them. Imagine you being
right.
educated from childhood, receiving always unconditional love. It's
Yeah,
like there's nothing you can do, say, or whatever that is not that will interfere with the amount of love that you receive. No, so it's
yeah,
very difficult
yeah.
to understand this concept here on Earth.
Interesting.
After this experience,
Well,
for me, it was clear. Okay, I understand that this is not here, that we don't experience this here. Otherwise, we don't have many things to learn. No, it's like, but
yeah,
we
yeah,
need to have this contrast, this huge contrast for that keeps us working. No,
yeah.
yeah, interesting.
Well,
But
the
I understand what you say. It's very very strong, very strong.
And it's
Yeah,
based on
very
what you
strong. I've
say.
also experienced it. And I
Oh,
started
really?
crying. I wouldn't say anything. I just cried and cried.
yeah, yeah.
Right,
And
right.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what you're saying, Renata, does not. That sounds a lot like contact to me. And just because you were in an altered state, that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
discount that it was real contact.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because these plant medicines, they take your
Okay.
consciousness to other levels of consciousness, and there are
Okay.
beings who dwell there. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are going to be able to connect with them. A lot of people who use plant medicine encounter mantis beings.
Hmm.
Apparently, those
Man,
beings are pretty common in the DMT realm, so to speak. So,
I'm pretty
yeah, and
afraid of mantis in this lifetime. I see a mantis, I'm like, because I could look at them, far away because I live in the countryside, so I can see. I've seen brown mantis,
uh-huh.
and there was a time that I was in a week. I saw 3, and I was like, "There's something going
Oh,
on with these mantis." because I've never seen
Oh,
them. So it was one green, one brown. I didn't even know there were brown
uh-huh.
mantis, and they were just like you said, they're staring at me. I'm like, no, no, no. There was
Yeah.
once I was just stopped the car on the highway, and I'm with my sister. She says, "Oh, let's go outside so I can, smoke a cigarette." And we go to a table. I push this chair, and there is a mantis there, and I'm like, "Whoa, what's that?" Because it's
Uh-huh.
and this was the
Um,
3 times I saw mantis, And I also have the kind of same effect with the how do you say, grasshoppers?
uh-huh.
Same,
Yeah,
it's
there are some
they're similar,
insectoids that do look like grasshoppers. I'm
grasshoppers.
going to
So
show you. You've
these
seen the
beings is
mantis. Let me show you the
oh,
grasshopper, just because I think I want to see if that looks familiar in any way.
But they're also beings that are have the shape of a
grasshopper?
grasshopper.
No.
Yes, I'm gonna show you one here real
Oh
Oh,
my god.
Yeah.
I didn't know about this.
Yes, they are also referred to as mantis beings, as a general idea. But yeah, they do exist in different forms. And I also know that they do not like to be called bugs.
Oh, of
Uh,
course.
insects is good, but they really don't like to be called bugs. Yeah,
Of
that's actually like
course.
really insulting. That's really
You know,
insulting.
I wouldn't call them bugs, but they really, get me. I'm already, all chicken. Ugh.
you
Yeah.
know that actually I have this biggest connection with the praying mantis. I don't know
Oh,
why, but
interesting.
but this wasn't my whole life. This just happened like from 3 years ago. I just love
Yeah.
them. Every time I see one on the street, I immediately go and I save it. And
Yeah.
if I see it on the streets where are cars or something, I don't know why, but I have this thing.
Hmm. So this is one of the grasshopper looking ones. And when I drew him, I had no idea what this thing was on his mouth down here, but it
Okay.
had to be there. And just a few weeks ago, I watched an episode on Gaia of Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia. And
Mm-hmm.
again, Emery Smith was talking with somebody, and mantis beings have this apparatus so that they can actually speak in an intelligible way so that people can understand what they're saying
Mm-hmm.
vocally. So they do have something over their mouth. That's the way that he described it. And I was like, oh, I bet you that's what that was. Yeah,
Okay.
this guy is the general. I ended up.
Of course.
Oh, it's a long story. I ended up on this ship while I was meditating. I'm not sure exactly how that happened, but somehow I knew I was still meditating in my room, and yet there was part of me that was also on his ship. The astral part of me, some part of my consciousness. But yeah, that's a long story.
Oh, okay. So I guess we will need to revisit
Wrap it
and
up.
have another conversation on
Yeah.
another
Yeah,
podcast maybe,
sure.
and just go over the praying mantis being, because it's also very interesting to understand how a praying mantis can like have a whole civilization and like and spaceships and everything, because I just imagine this small being in a huge size, and then
Yeah,
but I cannot put him inside the spaceship and working on technology and like with screws building a
yeah.
whole civilization. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
know
it's
what
kind of
you're saying. Yeah. They have a humanoid form, at least the ones that I've been, in touch with, like the one that I just showed you. He doesn't have 6 arms and legs. He has 2 arms, and he's literally humanoid.
Mm.
But his shape,
Mm.
the shape of his body, is different. And he doesn't have skin. He has more of a shell, like
Yeah.
like an skeleton kind of a thing.
Yep.
And you see his head is different. His fingers are weird. He's got like 4 really long fingers, and he
Mm.
holds it like I said, this is his like a resting pose. This is, how we will like cross our arms or whatever.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
fold their arms like this for some. I don't know why. I guess that's what's comfortable for them. And the
Yeah.
the hand part is a lot longer than the
Yeah.
forearm, so it's not the same proportions, but the shape itself, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. That's
Well,
at least the ones that
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been in
I've
contact.
seen also projections of the human beings in kind of like 5 decades, not 5 decades, sorry, in like a couple of centuries.
Mm.
And the projections are our fingers are going to grow because currently it's small hands because we want to grab things. And
Ah,
also in our ancestors, we used to hold on to things, to trees, and right. So
right,
we
right, right.
needed to have short hands. But now that they are no longer used to kind of
Ah,
surviving, they
yeah.
will become bigger because they will be used more into technology, and they will become more
Ah,
fragile and longer to just be used into kind of touching things and not so
yeah.
much into
Like
like
Yeah, grabbing.
more
like
Grabbing.
motor skills.
Yeah.
More fine.
yes,
Yeah, instead of the gross,
yeah,
large motor skills, more fine motor skills, with more
yeah,
things
yeah,
that don't require strength, that require precision.
correct,
So
yeah,
that makes a
that's
lot of
why.
sense.
And that's also why the projection also says our heads will grow bigger because our brains will continue developing and will get bigger.
Mhm.
And probably if we go into space, our eyes will get bigger and
Yeah.
darker because they will need to absorb more light because in the space
Yeah.
there's no light.
Yep.
So and the mouths become smaller because the food starts to become more I don't want to say processed, but more digestible. Kind of
Yeah.
everything is already done. You just need to, from a little, with using a straw, you need
Yeah.
to just drink something. So this
Right.
the mouth also becomes smaller because it doesn't need to be so robust.
Right. And also the rest of the body, because out in space, lower gravity, less
Mm-hmm.
movement, less activity, muscles are
Less
going to
muscle.
atrophy somewhat and will be
Less
really
muscle.
tall, very skinny.
Yeah.
Sort of like a lot of the
Oh
beings.
no!
Yes.
But the Arcturians, they don't seem like that.
What's that?
No. The Ort doesn't seem like that. Is Ort like that also? The,
I don't
the
know. Like I
skinny.
said, my friend said he looks very human. They're very attractive. Both him and his partner D are like really attractive, and
Okay.
obviously very slender and just very well fit. To me, the way that he described it, and they feel to me like they have a very athletic build, but not like muscular. More, just lean
We'll
and
talk to them then.
smooth and more like
Just healthy, right?
yeah, and smoother movements, more cat-like in a sense.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just
They're
a better
central.
control of their muscles somehow. I don't know how. In other words, when they walk, it almost looks like they're dancing, but they're not
Mm.
dancing. There's just this sort of flowy thing. Instead of rigid, walking, it's more flowy. I don't know how exactly to describe it, but that's what it
No, but
feels.
it makes a whole lot of sense. I actually know
Yeah.
people that have this kind of vibe. They
Mm.
just
Really?
have it.
Huh.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
just have it.
No.
They're not like, I guess the opposite would be like clumsy, and they're
Mm.
like so in
Well
control of their
coordinated.
movements.
Yeah,
Sorry?
well
Well, yeah,
coordinated.
yeah.
or
Yeah,
But it's
cat-like.
and
not only that, it's just like kind of well coordinated with sensual, but not sensual in the sexy way.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
I know exactly what you mean.
No,
Technology issues we're having again.
this is
There's
embarrassing.
some
We are talking about super advanced civilizations, and
I
we have
know, right?
poor internet signal.
Yeah,
Oh
you know
my
yeah.
what
god!
I think?
What's
I
that?
think some of Aurora friends are trying to be here and watch what the conversation, like are they going to be saying about us, and they're just messing everything.
Yeah,
All the energies here, even the computer and the network are like going crazy. Like what?
Well, what's really interesting is that I was thinking that this was Zark's doing because he does like to play pranks. And then the first thing you talked about was Zark, and that image that you saw that was actually a portrait of Zark. And
You see?
so, yeah, that's interesting. Kind of.
Maybe Zark. Zark, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here, but please, your energy is messing up this whole connection. We're breaking up. So please,
Improve
if
our
you can just
connection.
step away a little bit, just for a couple of seconds, and you'll see it on YouTube later, the uploads version.
Yes.
Oh, that would be cute.
Improve our
That
connection.
would be cute. Yeah, I don't know if it's him. I can't. I'm not in that space where I feel like I can
Yeah.
connect with any of them.
I know. We're
Yeah.
just
This is
messing.
very awesome conversation. It really, really is. Yeah.
Oh, no,
Oh,
no. I don't know
yeah.
Sorry. Please go
That's
ahead.
okay. You go ahead. It's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Nat if she has any final questions.
I would have many more, but but I think
Yes, it
we
is
have
true.
we have to schedule another
Yeah,
conversation.
we can do that again. Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise we stay here another hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will just send you an invitation ticket plane, and you come here. You spend the weekend with us, and
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Do
That'd
you,
be
do you
great.
have do you do C5s only in person, right? You never do these events like C5s when you are connected online.
Yeah, I've
that
never
would be
done
awesome.
one. And the reason for that is that I don't feel you guys
Yeah,
or
understand. Yeah,
online. I don't
makes sense.
feel. And
Yeah, yeah.
so when we're together as in person,
Uh-huh.
people can start to feel one another, and it's so much easier to get on the
Okay,
same frequency. Now,
Interesting.
there is something to be said for Zoom calls because I don't know that you guys realize this. We are not meeting in 3D right now
Mm-hmm.
because we're not meeting in person.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at is not you, I'm looking at an image of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are all in different places located in space, and yet here we are together. So a different dimension doesn't have to be something that can never be attained. This is
Yeah.
a perfect example
Yeah,
of being in a different dimension, of meeting on a different plane than the 3D. And when GPS came around and we started to be able to look ahead at what's ahead on the road, the traffic, seeing things from a different vantage point, that was also an increase in dimensional levels
Mm-hmm.
because it changed our experience, our perception of reality to a different vantage point. I never used to be able to know if there was traffic ahead. I never used to get notices that there's a police on the road.
Yeah.
So all of this extra information really does fit with the idea of a different dimension than we were in as a civilization 20 years ago. Just technology alone can actually raise the frequency of a planet or expand consciousness, which brings me to AI, but I'm not going to go there because that'll take 2 days.
Yeah, but
Wow.
what you're saying, what I
That's
feel is that we are peeking into thousands and thousands of other dimensions. For example, when we enter, and I had this sensation of going to Instagram and feeling exhausted after 1 minute, which is like, and then I understood that my emotional system doesn't have, is not equipped to change from one, let's say, frequency to another so fast. So imagine you see a portal, so a reel that it's about violence, and after that you see some expensive bags, and after that you see something that makes you laugh.
Yeah.
And this you are doing this is seconds. So your emotional system, which has a period of time, and you enter a state, you get out of you are in that state, and then you get out of that state. Here is like you are entering, going out, entering, going out, entering, going, because the body's constantly responding to what you're seeing, because the body doesn't recognize that what you're seeing is not what is present. Right.
Right.
So, and I
Said
felt
something very interesting.
exhausted with
Yeah.
Instagram, and I still do. I stay there for very short periods of time, and then I go out, and then I enter a little bit. But now that you are saying this, it's like we are peeking in through thousands and thousands of different dimensions, like a sneak peek.
Yeah.
Because
Well, and what you said about portals, that is awesome. That really resonates.
Yeah.
How you said that. You're looking in through a portal and you can engage with it or not. But I never thought of it that way. But that really resonates. That whole idea of
it's exhausting.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I've taken a break from social media because of that. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I feel I'm also taking a break from social media. I do them often because, as Renata said, it is true. You go down this tunnel, this parallel world, that with the specific vibration that someone is putting out there, and it can be. Yeah, I imagine that children. It's a kind of it's a very slippery slope out there.
Yeah, it is.
With this
There's a lot more to
topic.
social media than appears at first glance. There's a lot more to it. But
okay,
well,
Aurora, we won't
so
take any more time from you. Thank you so much.
Fun 2 hours, let me tell you.
It was an awesome conversation. I wish I wish you were my neighbor, to be honest. That's I think it's true. It's the most easiest and shortest way I can say it. I wish you were my neighbor. I would be all the time bumping into you on the street, like, hey, how are you? No, it's awesome. And you have just a great energy and a great vibration, and you're all the time smiling. So it's awesome to speak with someone like you. Thank you for opening up with us and sharing your drawings and your experiences. We hope we connect again, and we go a little bit deeper on some topics, and maybe we do some sort session with you. I don't know. We meditate for a couple of minutes with you. That would be awesome.
We can try. We can record it. Never been done before. A C5 using internet. Why not? We ask whoever can support our internet as best possible, and maybe we can try it and see if it works.
I'm not opposed to the idea at all.
See if it
I'm
works.
not opposed to the idea.
Yeah, see if it works.
Yeah, we are several hours apart, but that really doesn't make any difference. If anything is going to show up, it's going to show up. And if we're going to do the C5, I'm going to show you guys, I'll tell you about my two-way radios. If you look into Jimmy Blanchett on YouTube, that'll tell you everything.
Jimmy Blanchett, let me take a note.
He's a Canadian. Yeah, go and watch one of his YouTube videos, and he uses two-way radios to communicate with ETs.
Okay.
By, beeping and clicking and all sorts of different things. Yeah, and I can verify that it actually works. The C5 that I usually go to, my friend, he has his own radios, and it was so unbelievable, the contact that we had through those radios, that on the way home, it's like 2:00 in the morning, my husband got on Amazon and bought 4 two-way radios. And just the way I found the frequency and everything else that's been happening with them has been very interesting. I've collected some data and I've entered it into Gemini and Claude, and both of them said that it's a pattern. There's clearly a pattern.
Ooh.
The signals that are coming out of my radios are not random. So that's pretty mind-blowing. I'm still sitting with that one, not quite sure what to do with it, even though I've been listening to these radios for, over a year. hear them, clicking and beeping and doing all sorts of things in a specific rhythm. So, yeah, that's a fun one to explore. But yeah, I'm up for it.
Okay,
Alrighty.
perfect. So,
yes, well, let's keep it. Definitely.
There's the weekend at the door, so I wish you a great weekend. Let me first
Have a great
stop
weekend.
the recording before